Pledge of Allegiance. Selectman Ciccolini, would you please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say good evening to our board members. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam
Good
Chair.
evening.
Good evening to our town manager, Mr. Scott Crabtree,
Good evening.
and our clerk, Janice Jaros. Good evening. Good
Janice.
evening to each and every one of you in the audience and those watching at home.
It's like being in school. Nobody wants to sit in the front row.
Oh, wait, no one's in the front row.
We do have plenty of seats in the front,
The latest people have to come up front.
and you have to be tested. Selectman Cogliano will not be in attendance this evening. His Aunt Sarah is in hospice care, and his family are with her this evening, and our thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. Tonight, we are very excited because we have some overachievers with our cheerleaders. We're recognizing the U8 and the U12 cheerleaders for their significant achievements. We're going to start off with U8 girls. In the league, they came in first place, states first place, regionals first place, and nationals third place, which is a huge, huge accomplishment. With that, I'm going to open it up to board members. I'm sure they all want to say a few words. Selectman Vice Chair Ciccolini.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The board is extremely proud of each and every one of the girls and your accomplishments. I had the pleasure of a daughter who is a absolute diehard cheerleader since as long as I can remember, and she cheerleaded all the way through college, and now she's actually teaching classes at ECE. So I understand the commitment it takes from family and the entire family, but also the coaches and everybody. It's truly hats off for an amazing accomplishment to go to nationals and be able to succeed on that level with such a high level of competition. That's why we felt it was very important to bring you here and recognize you for your amazing accomplishments. So keep going, keep pushing, and sky's the limit, and thank you for representing Saugus so well.
Thank you, Selectman Ciccolini. Selectman Sereno.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to thank every one of you, the cheerleaders, the coaches, parents. You should all be proud of yourself. Your dedication and hard work has certainly paid off. And on behalf of the community, I want to wish you all the luck and all the best in your future endeavors. And you're all certainly a great asset to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Sereno. Selectman Riley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I again want to congratulate you on a great, what you did down in Florida was awesome, and it's much different what you girls do than when I was at Saugus High, when they were cheerleading. It's nothing like you guys do today. It was a lot calmer. So it was, you are now, it's athleticism and coordination and trust and work as a team. You did a great job. You showed Saugus what you can be and do, and you just really did make us proud. So thank you again, and good luck with everything in your future. And again, thanks.
Thank you, Selectman Riley. The commitment that is needed to do what you did is just outstanding. You're not only talented, but you have to keep up your grades as well, and we know how difficult that is. My daughter was a cheerleader. When I was a young girl, I was a cheerleader. And as somebody mentioned earlier, the stunts and the way you perform now is over and above anything anyone could imagine. And we are deeply, deeply proud of each and every one of you. With that said, we have citations. We're going to start with the U8 girls, and then we're going to go to the U12 girls. And it reads, the Town of Saugus citation. Be it known that the Town of Saugus sends its best wishes and recognitions of your amazing achievement in Pop Warner cheerleading as outlined below. U8A League's first place, state's first place, regional first place, and third place nationals. Congratulations. And we have one for each one of the cheerleaders, and it's signed by each one of the Board of Selectmen. So with that said, would the U8 coach or coaches please come up to the lectern? If you could say, So if you could give us your name and address, and then say a few words about these outstanding young ladies. And then after that, I would like you to read off each one of the names and have each one of the cheerleaders come up. We are going to come out as well, shake their hands, and take a picture.
Okay.
Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Kaur, and I live at 9 Indian Rock Drive in Saugus.
Thank you.
Where do I even begin? This team, just like our town, is something special. It feels like just yesterday we were meeting for the first time at Stackpole Field in the beginning of August. Those days were hot, muggy, and covered in goose poop. But that didn't stop this team. We spent time getting to know one another and the fundamentals of cheerleading. We stretched and jumped and tumbled and stunted and learned all the different motions. Half of the girls had never cheered before, but clearly they were dedicated and ready to learn. Our returning girls helped teach our new girls sideline cheers, and friendships blossomed. This UA team is made up of 30 girls in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. They are forever bonded together from a season they will never forget, and how lucky am I to have been a part of it. What they have accomplished is truly remarkable. Let me quickly take you down the road to nationals. Some days, practices were fun and easy. Others were long and hard. Once school began, these girls practiced 3 days a week and cheered at games on Sundays. Stunt groups were formed, tumblers emerged, our routine was set, and now it was time to execute. Countless hours goes into practicing the routine so that each move is perfectly synchronized within the team of 30 cheerleaders. These girls pushed themselves harder than they knew they could, and I am so very proud of them. First up was our invitational fun competition, where the team took first place. A fire was lit under them, and they finally saw how much their hard work can pay off. Fresh off the win, we continued to practice and make small tweaks based on the judges' feedback. This cycle continued as we placed first at our local competition, state competition, and finally the regional competition that qualified us for nationals. The award ceremonies were some of my favorite moments as I watched their faces change from nerves and fear to proud tears of joy. The thing about this team is that they never just assumed they were going to win. They went in fighting harder and harder each and every competition. Fast forward to nationals, that was the icing on the cake. We made it. We fundraised with all our might and headed down to Florida to put our name and our town on the map. Thank you to everyone in the community that helped us on our way. Well, the fight wasn't over just yet. We placed 5th in the qualifying round of competition, which meant we just made it to Super Sunday, the finals. We took the judges' feedback seriously and had a productive practice in the hotel conference room. We were ready. We woke up on Sunday, and in the dark, clouds started rolling in. One of our teammates had been throwing up throughout the night. Next thing you know, another one got sick. The phone rings, and it hit another cheerleader. By the time we were ready for warm-ups on the mat, we had 5 team members with the stomach bug. The coaching team made sure to let the girls know that it was okay if they needed to sit this one out, and we could just mark our missing stunts. There was nothing anyone could do. It is what it is. But no, each and every one of these cheerleaders said there is no way they are sitting out. They worked so hard to get to this point and couldn't imagine missing out. All 30 of our cheerleaders went on the mat, and they absolutely killed it. As coach, I was sitting there in my chair just praying no one threw up on the mat. And then they hit their tumbling passes, and they hit their first stunt. And I looked around, and their faces were beaming. They shined so bright. They continued to hit every stunt and formation in their routine, and I was stunned. They nailed it, and no one threw up. No matter the outcome, I couldn't have been any more proud. And the judges agreed. They increased their score from the qualifying round and placed 3rd in the nation. What a feat. Each and every one of these girls means so much to me. I have watched them learn, grow, be team players, and lift each other up when they needed it the most. They trust each other and love each other just as much as we love them. And most importantly, they had fun. I'd like to take a moment to thank my coaching team for their dedication and hard work. This was no walk in the park. It was exhilarating and exhausting all at the same time. We had countless conversations going back and forth about how we could continuously improve as a team, and we never stopped. We set the tone about what it means to work together, and we displayed that at each and every practice. However, there is no way I could have done this alone. So I would like to thank Jill Lozier for being my partner and right by my side on every step of this ride. Stephanie Bluestein, who managed to head coach her own team and still make it to almost every one of our practices. And for Courtney Whitehurst and Stephanie Marquez, who stepped up to join our coaching staff this season. We all complement each other so well and have our own strengths that we bring to the team. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to Charlene and Greg, who have been there to support me as a first-year head coach. To the parents of our team, none of us would be here today if you didn't trust us and the process. You made the coaching staff feel supported throughout this entire journey, and we can't thank you enough. And to my husband and my family, thank you for the love and the support. I couldn't have led this team without you. Okay. Yep.
It's just important to mention, too, that this meeting is being recorded, so you could be taping these, or you could watch this on YouTube later.
Okay. Ready, girls? First up, I have Charlotte Applegate. Right here, Charlotte. Evelyn Powers. Is she here? Okay. Caroline Giantasio. Right here. Audrey Gregorio. Isabella Bluestein. Stella Bocci Olson. Bryn Clifford. Lillian Lepresti. Giabella Lorenzo. Aaliyah Velasquez. Karen Boyd. Elena Mellon. Anaya Boyd. Hadley Nichols. Madison Giglio. Faith Harrington. Mila McDonough. Juliana D'Amico. Tatum Hoy. Grace Whitehurst. Josephine Vitello. Alessandra McTaggart. Melissa Santos. Dakota Dost. Congrats. Amelia Lewis. Grace Lester. Avalee Kaur. Evelyn Lozier. Olivia Zawadski. And Francesca Lincoln.
Bill? Oh, I don't doubt it.
Thank you.
But it's wimpy now. I've already had it before. Yeah. Now we're gonna call it the 12s.
Yeah.
So Charlene, I think, will be the one.
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, this meeting is being recorded and it will be up on Vimeo either tomorrow or the next day. Next, we have the U12 girls, and we're just as proud of our U12 girls. And I found the speech from the coach from U8 really inspiring. What a phenomenal job these girls did. With that said, if we could bring up the coach or coaches from the U12 team, please. Each one of these citations, they're signed by all 5 of the selectmen, and it reads, Town of Saugus citation. Be it known that the Town of Saugus sends its best wishes and recognition of your amazing achievements in Pop Warner cheerleading as outlined below. U12, League's first place, State's first place, Regional's third place, and 6th place Nationals. Congratulations. It's signed by each one of the Board of Selectmen. Thank you. Name and address.
All right. Charlene Berridge, 38 Churchill Street. For those who don't know, I am the cheer director for Saugus Youth Football and Cheer. We had a great season. Tonight we are here for a very special honor. 2 of our cheer teams competed and advanced to the national championship in Florida. I am so blessed to be the cheer director. I get to visit and help with all 5 of our cheer teams. But I'm also blessed to be the coach of the U12 team. I have been with this team since my daughter Holly was 5 years old. We have had one dream each season, and it's the same for most teams, to get to nationals. This team has grown and improved each season. 7 years later, 2023 was our year to head to nationals and show them what it is to be from Saugus. Being new to the league, the announcers in Florida haven't quite learned how to pronounce our town's name. We have heard everything, Saugus to Sawgas Sackums. I guess you could say they sacked us because we took 6th. Reflecting back on our season, we took first place at the Fun Comp, Leagues, and States. We took 3rd at Regionals and 6th at Nationals. We had a fun tradition after each competition. We called it the Lion King Circle of Life ritual. Each victory treating the trophy as if it was Simba. Although we did not take home the trophy at Nationals, we did take home wonderful memories and a strong bond between all of us. Cheerleading is a tough sport. We are a team of 33 cheerleaders. That alone is a challenge. There was nothing simple about a choreographed routine with such a large team, each movement, formation, all planned and executed with perfection. These girls were always strengthening and pushing their limits. From tumbling to stunting, can you imagine the amount of teamwork and trust that goes into stunting? Every job in a stunt can be dangerous. Every new skill is a building block to the next skill. But together, it becomes something beautiful. They definitely learn life skills about determination and hard work. This team's strength is their teamwork and commitment, always coming together to work hard and motivating one another. Believe it or not, our biggest challenge was how close they were. They enjoyed being together, and they loved to talk. All practice, every practice. In hindsight, this was a blessing. They wanted to be at practice. We were fortunate to have full practices often, and watching their bond grow each day was amazing. It has honestly been a pleasure to coach each and every one of you and to get to know you. I am so proud of you. I look forward to the seasons to come and what we can achieve. To our board, our Saugus YFC Cheer Board has been so helpful in growing our season, in growing the league this season. Each board member has had the very best interest in every athlete in our program. As chair director, I thank them. Our coaches, our U12 coach team is 5 coaches: Allison DePietro, Casey Alexandri, Jennifer Westerfield, Brooke Brennan, and myself. We had 2 wonderful junior coaches, Cameron Berridge and Kateri Bird. There are no words to describe your passion, commitment, and love for this team. Together, we were better this season. To our parents, these athletes owe you a lot. Cheer can be a busy sport. From August 1st through December, you shuttle them to 3 to 4 practices a week, football games, and sit through very long and hot competitions. You are their biggest cheerleaders, and although they are preteen now and don't always show you, don't let them fool you. I can see how much your support and encouragement means to them. To our community, many people throughout the town do not realize that these 2 teams' families had just 2 weeks after competing and winning at regionals to plan and pay for a trip to Florida. Don't forget, this is just weeks before Christmas. Our community was beyond supportive to help offset the cost. I believe I can speak on behalf of all of the families. Thank you for your support. We have been fortunate to have the support of all our town departments. A big thank you to the town manager's office, school department, athletic director, school committee, building maintenance, and board of selectmen. When we need your help, you always jump in to help. And a special thank you to the board of selectmen for inviting us tonight for the cheerleaders to receive such a special honor. Essentially, thank you to all the family, friends, and community for helping us be successful and being part of our team. Thank you. All right, ladies. Hannah Strout. Thank you. I didn't even think of Jiang. Selena Jiang. Callie Ann Kim. Holly Berridge. Sophia Machado. Sarah Mendez. Isabella Paglarulo. Ellie Miranda. Anya Scandone. Erica Mpagwe. Sophia Alexandri. Sky Girardi. Liliana Frondudo. Braylee Caruso. Ariana DePietro. Juliana Frost. Avery Ankrum. "33 cheerleaders." Kaylee Durand. Oh, Summer O'Brien. Bianca Catanzariti. Aubrey McKay. Alana McTaggart. Kira Mineta. Viviana Barrera. Reese Bruno. Francesca Bashaw. Mia Powers. Eris Emanuel. I know. Samantha Williams. Amelia Westerfield. Juliana Cascio. And last but not least, Anna Lee. We missed one. I'm sorry. Adriana Amoroso. Woo! You can keep it. Okay. Six, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for having us here. Yes.
let me go wash my hands. She's gonna take a recess anyway.
Yeah, we're going to take a recess.
Madam Chair,
Selectman
I'd
Chicalini.
like to take a 3-minute recess.
That's seconded by the chair. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of taking a recess, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We're going to take a brief recess. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, right.
Session. The next item on the agenda is under correspondence. We have our Finance Director and Treasurer Collector, Ms. Wendy Hatch, and she's requesting a vote from the Selectmen to approve the issuance and detail of debt to be issued to the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, loan number CWP-22-51, and sign related interim loan note closing documents. Mrs. Hatch, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. This evening, we're here to get the board's authorization on a loan, an interim loan note that's being issued through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. It's part of the ongoing sewer inflow and infiltration abatement program that we began many years ago. This was in a specific subsystem PS4, where it is located in Upper Hamilton Street, Pace Road, Road Street, Atherton, Fairmont Avenue, Wonderland Avenue, Alice Street, Hilltop Ave, and Ireson Street. The DPW has been working with their engineering firm, Camp Dresser Smith, as I said, as part of the ongoing sewer I&I abatement program. The loan that was approved by the Mass Clean Water Trust this evening is in the amount of $1,748,703. It is an interim loan note. The way that the program works through the state is they pool all of the communities together who have ongoing projects such as these that they approve. They issue the interim note, and then once projects are completed through construction, final cost drawdowns are submitted, and we know what the final cost of all projects are throughout the Commonwealth. Then they'll issue permanent financing for the permanent debt, and we'll have a final debt schedule going forward. In the packet that was provided to the board is a copy of the vote. That would have to be read into the minutes in its entirety. And if anyone has any questions that I can answer, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. What percentage interest are we paying on this interim loan?
So this loan program is a 2% interest program that's offered through the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions this evening?
No, Madam Chair. Madam Chair,
Selectman Chicalini.
if there are no questions, I'll read the vote into the record.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? No. Please do. Thank you.
So we will vote that the town shall issue a bond or bonds in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $2,919,068. The bonds pursuant to Chapters 29C and 44 of the general laws and votes of the town passed May 1st, 2016. Article 19 authorizing a total borrowing of $5.2 million, and May 16, 2022, Article 14 authorizing a total borrowing of $295,945 each for planning or construction of sewers and other water pollution control abatement infrastructure, the project. Number 2, that the terms of the financing agreement or agreements, the financing agreement or agreement, and the project regulatory agreement or agreements, each relating to the notes and bonds, are hereby approved. 3, that anticipation of the issuance of the bonds, the treasurer is authorized to issue an interim loan note or notes, the notes, from time to time in an aggregate principal not to exceed $2,919,068. 4, that each bond or note shall be issued as a single registered security and sold to the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, the trust, at a price determined pursuant to the financing agreement or agreements. 5, that the treasurer is authorized to determine the date, the form, the maximum interest rate, and the principal maturities of each bond and note, and to execute a financing agreement or agreements with the trust with respect to the sale of the bonds and notes such date, form, and maturities, and the specific interest rate or rates of the bonds and notes to be approved by a majority of the Board of Selectmen and the treasurer, and evidenced by their execution of the bonds or notes. And 6, that any certificates or documents relating to each bond and notes, collectively, the documents may be executed in several counterparts, each of which shall be regarded as an original, and all of which shall constitute one and the same document. Delivery of an executed counterpart of a signature page to a document by electronic mail in a PDF file or by other electronic transmission shall be as effective as delivery of a manually executed counterpart signature page to such document. And electronic signatures on any of the documents shall be deemed original signatures for the purposes of the documents and all matters relating thereto, having the same legal effect as original signatures. 7, that all action taken to date by the town and its officers and agents to carry out the project and its financing, including the execution of any loan commitment or agreement by the treasurer, and hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed. And 8, that the treasurer and other appropriate town officials are each hereby authorized to take any and all actions necessary or convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including execution and delivery of the financing agreement or agreements and the project regulatory agreement or agreements relating to the project.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much for coming.
Wendy.
Thank
I do
you.
believe we have some
Thank you.
documents for you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda under correspondence is Mr. Peter Manugian, 50 Ballard Street, Saugus, Mass., Regional Saugus River Floodgate Project. Mr. Manugian?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen, board members, Mr. Town Manager. With me this evening, town meeting members Darren Ring and Carlos Scazzarella from Precinct 10. And I'm pleased to introduce Angela Garino-Sawaya from Ward 5 in Revere. Angela's very interested in this issue. And I also, a businessman in Precinct 10, Glenn Bowie. He owns Associated Elevator at 6 Bel Air Street. All of these people are experiencing or have witnessed the devastation that took place on January 14th, 13th, 12th and 13th, I believe, on the flooding that took place in East Saugus. Abraham Lincoln said, with public sentiment, you can do everything. Without it, you can do nothing. And this is the beginning of a process, hopefully, to build public sentiment and convince our state and federal delegation that this project is necessary. The project was originally designed, the Saugus River Floodgate Project, between 1985 and 1993. It was moving along quite nicely until Governor Wells' Secretary of Environmental Affairs, Trudy Cox, in 1993, shut it down. It was shut down because there was concern over the impact it would have on the marshes, the environmental aspect of it. Since that time, the project became dormant, and as a result, new words entered the lexicon, such as climate change and sea level rise, SPN, Standard Project Northeaster, all kinds of words that we hear almost every day, and we are experiencing it now. In fact, the 4th and 6th highest tide levels in the area, in this whole Saugus River watershed area, took place in this calendar year, 2024. By 2034, during the spring, the type of flooding we saw a week or so ago will happen twice a month. 6,000 structures will be affected, 30,000 residents displaced, 30,000 employees displaced, and 500,000 commuters, Saugus commuters that use Route 107 and Hamilton Street. We saw the devastation on Hamilton Street and what had to happen with diverting traffic there. But traffic's not the only issue. People are, the impact is not just for those people that decided to move down there in East Saugus. What do you expect? You're living down there, right, Jeff? How many times have we heard that? Well, it's going to affect everybody, every property taxpayer in this town, because, as a recent audit report pointed out, that is a risk in terms of a cause to a tax burden that will shift. As property values are affected by flooding, and I can tell you with certainty, having seen buyers walk away from properties that require flood insurance, as those values do not keep up with the rest of the values in town, those other residential taxpayers and commercial taxpayers will have to pick up the slack. The town's always going to be able to raise its levy under 2.5 plus growth. It's just how it's distributed, and it will be, the impact will be more severe on those people not in flood areas, as those in flood areas see their values not keep up. They may not decline, but they won't keep up with the increases. So that was pointed out by our auditors. What I'm asking the board to do, what we're asking the board to do, is to communicate in whatever way you feel best, preferably a letter to our state and federal delegation, expressing our concern and desire to see the study reauthorized. The federal government has, in fact, reauthorized the study in December 23. President Biden signed it, but they didn't fund it. We need the study to be funded. And now, the purpose of the study is to update the work that was done between 85 and 93. For example, to take into consideration the increase in storms and tidal increases, and also to address the concern about the marshes that was raised by then Secretary Trudy Cox. And part of the study will discuss restoring the salt marsh where the I-95 sand pile was, except for that area that's acting as a buffer to the wind incinerator. But to take out all of that fill and to restore the marshes, to create more compensatory storage. And my colleague from Revere is also concerned. They want to see what the study will do to address Point of Pines, that if you're building the floodgates, is it going to divert the water and cause a worse problem to the Point of Pines? All of this needs to be studied, evaluated. It has to have public input, and that process could take several years. Ideally, this project could be, I want to say in the ground, in the water, by 2035. To give you an idea of the costs, it's always a concern. To build the floodgates would be about $300 million, less than what it's costing to build the Northeast Regional Vocational School. 65% of that would come from the federal government, 35% would come from the state. That would be $105 million to the state. 50% of that $105 million would go to the 5 communities. That would be $52,500,000, and if you divide 5 communities into that, it would be $10,500,000 to Saugus. That's a bargain for the property that you're going to save, because you're talking billions in property damage by 2050. You know, 2050 is not that far away. I always look back at, that's 26 years. Well, what was 26 years ago was 1999. It doesn't seem that far behind us, so it's really not that far in front of us either. How would we maintain the floodgates? Well, the suggestion is that we could start a Saugus River floodgate district. Local governmental districts exist throughout the Commonwealth. You have the Mass Water Resource Authority, you have the Lynn Water Sewer Commission, and so forth. So regional authorities are ways that communities, we even have a mosquito authority, but regional authorities are a way to maintain something, because you're going to have someone operating those floodgates. You're going to have someone coordinating with the cities and towns and so forth. So I imagine you'd have a separate governing structure and so forth. There would be ongoing maintenance and so forth. So the 5 communities would have to chip in for that along with the state. That's the cost of the floodgates. What are we talking here now? $3 million to do this, to update the study, which is $1.5 million to the state and local governments. And if you divide that $1.5 million to the locals, that's $750. And if you divide that by 5, by the way, the 5 communities are Saugus, Revere, Lynn, Malden, and Everett. That comes out to $150,000 to Saugus just to update the study, which again is a bargain compared to what we see costs being. So I want to give an opportunity before you ask the questions to hear from both my colleagues from Precinct 10 and also from Mr. Bowie, who took the time to be here. He does live in Gloucester, but he's very concerned. We did call from his place Congressman Moulton, and I just learned today that one of my constituents was called by Mr. Moulton's office and said that they'll get back to him. But Senator Markey has been excellent on this, as has Rep. Jessica Giannino. She's on it too. But we need to get Representative Wong on board. We need to get Seth Moulton on board. Elizabeth Warren is on board. Again, they authorized the study, but they just didn't fund it. We need them to fund it. So I want to ask if either of my colleagues want to.
Mr. Manoogian? I'm going to let board members ask you some questions first, and
Okay,
anyone who wants to speak tonight will be
Yeah,
able to speak.
yeah.
Selectman Chiclini?
Sure. Thank you for coming out. I'm obviously, as I wrote on your page, I think it's easy to say that everybody up here is in full support of whatever needs to be done to have this done and addressed. I witnessed it. I built my home down there in '98, and I was there until 2018. And in that time, I could think of three significant flooding events. Significant, the last one being 2018 was the most devastating that I witnessed. Since I left 5 years ago, there's already been 5 other events since then. So clearly the matter has gotten worse. Clearly we need to do something to push this forward. I spoke with from our constituent from Revere, and I understand her concern. So of course the study would definitely prove what we need it to prove, and I'm sure it will take all communities into account, not just fix one problem and kick it down the road to another community. But that being said, the devastation that's down there is crazy. I mean, my cousin still lives on the street that I lived on, and I have a picture of his basement with 11 inches of water in it. What used to get 2 to 3 inches is now 11 inches in his basement, and that's right on Beachview Ave. So I'm well aware of what goes on down there. I did get tired of people saying, well, you built a house down in the marsh, what do you want? Well, okay, that's all well and good, but it never did that before, and now it's doing it. My first 15 years there, I didn't even worry about flooding.
Right.
And it was the last 3 or 4 years that I got all my events that were significant. So whatever it is, I think from this board, it's great to have the history and the background, but truthfully, we need to get this to the right people that are going to push this through. It's our state delegates, it's our federal representation, senators, congressmen, and congresswomen. That's what we need that's going to push this thing through. The Board of Selectmen, I'll write a letter 50 times over, but the teeth comes from our delegation. And we need to make sure that they're all on board, and we get them all on board. And I think this board, I'm speaking for the board, that will write a letter, whatever letter is needed, absolutely, make phone calls. But the point of the matter is, without the state and the federal government pushing for us and our representatives, it's going to fall on deaf ears. I mean, we know that.
May I address that?
Of course.
Thank you for those comments, and I noticed you did leave and you went to higher grounds.
If I get water up there, we're in big trouble.
But in that letter, you really need to communicate that Saugus is willing to step up and put its, money where its mouth is on this study, and because that's why this project, the Army Corps is. The feds are saying, well, look, you guys, they spent $22 million back in the 90s on this, and the state didn't put up a dime.
So a follow-up question to you, Mr. Menuchyan,
Yes.
is would we want to bring this before town meeting to make sure that we got the backing from a budgetary perspective for our share of the study first?
I was thinking as I was driving down here that a targeted stabilization fund, we've created them for many things successfully in the town, and it may be appropriate to create one at this
Well,
point.
before we write a letter that says the town is committed, we can only commit from the Board of Selectmen's appropriation.
but- yeah.
The town meeting being the appropriating body, if we could bring this on the town meeting floor
Yeah.
and get their teeth behind it.
Well, and you folks could certainly, I'd be willing to sponsor that, but the board could sponsor that too. Of course, you'd want to consult with the town manager on it.
Yeah.
But it's a way of communicating to our delegation that, look, we're putting some money aside. We want to see this study take place. It's not a lot of money to put up there.
Madam Chairman?
Mr. Menuchyan, I know that our town manager wants to address, as well as our other board members, so I'm going to let, if it's okay with you, I'm going to let the town manager
So my
address.
question to the, Mr. Menuchyan is that just for clarity, is there no support from the state or federal government to even pay for the $3 million study?
At this
So my only concern would be, we can say we're going to pay for a study and do a study that nobody's ever going to fund beyond that. So we just got to be careful we're not throwing, money just to say we're willing to step up. I mean, I think there has to be, and I think that's sort of what Selectman Ciccolini's saying, there's got to be some sort of commitment, even on the federal and state, so they have skin in the game in the sense of that they're going to support and put funding. I don't mind the town putting it up, or I wouldn't be opposed to that, but we'd have to have some support that the state and federal government are willing to invest and support something by paying for or putting some monies towards a study. You know what I mean? It sounded like, and I don't know, maybe I didn't hear you correctly, that you're trying to get all the communities just to pay for the study, but the project itself is not even supported with funding.
Well, Madam Chairman, may I answer
course.
that? You're correct. And what comes first, the chicken or the egg? In this case, the federal government, the Army Corps, there are 3 projects, and this is a third priority at the national level. And to raise this up to a priority level so that they do pick up the 50% of the $3 million study, it would be, it's been communicated to me that if the communities are willing to put some money on the table towards this, and of course it would be in reserve to show how serious they are, because the feeling at the federal levels with the Army Corps is that the state wasn't serious back in the 90s, that they spent $22 million and the state didn't put a dime in, and then they killed the project. So, yeah, that's a discussion.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess like my follow-up question would be, and I think we're all on the same page, but where is the state delegation as far as submitting a bill or to put money aside in the state level, even for the study? In other words, where's that support? I would think that you have to have those partners. In other words, we're not going to force anybody's hand by doing a study. I mean, and I'm just using an example for us. There's lots of different things of like tip money and all that where we could go to town meeting and spend $500,000 on a design with never a guarantee of actually getting a project funded through like the TIP program and other programs.
Well, I
But
would,
I think the state, I think that's, I think, you know, in combination of a letter, I think the first thing would be to try to get the state delegation to submit something so that they have partnership with us at the same time of paying for our study, in my opinion, strategically.
well, I think that's a discussion that the executive branch can have amongst
Yeah.
itself, you know, during your budget deliberations. However you feel best to convince our federal and state delegations that we're serious, whatever you feel would be the best way to do that, that's fine. But to do nothing is not what we want.
Is it
other
okay if
questions?
I'm going to let Selectman Sereno speak?
Yeah. Madam Chairman, I grew up down in that area, and I can tell you that's the worst I've ever seen in my lifetime. The water used to come in from the marshes and Revere, go up to the Italian Club. This time we went up Bristol Street, halfway up Bristol Street, over to both ends of Wickford, Venice Ave got flooded, which I never seen Venice Ave get flooded before. It was always Seagate Ave, but not that down that end. I agree we need to push this floodgate project. I'm not so sure if it's through a committee. I think we should immediately send out letters from the board on the manager, and if the manager wants to appoint a liaison for this project, that's fine. That's what I feel, but I know the town's done a lot. I mean, we've put a hazard mitigation plan together, a stormwater bylaw together, a stormwater management plan together. We've appropriated hundreds of thousands of dollars,
MVP,
you know,
Municipal Vulnerability
in
Assessment.
the vulnerability, that's a hazardous mitigation plan. We've inspected manholes, 1,000 manholes, 1,500 catch basins, 300 outfalls. We've mapped a drainage system, developed staffing plan to implement the programs, and we funded as much as we can every year for these programs. So the town has done its share. But what we're seeing now is this tidal storm surge. What we're doing is not going to help prevent this. We need to do the floodgate project. But what we need to do is, first of all, we need to get these 5 communities on board, because Saugus can't do it themselves. I think if we can get the 5 communities on board, we'll have a greater chance with the state and the federal government, and we have to get also our state delegation, Congressman, like you said, Mr. Manoogian, on board. And this is, I believe, how we should proceed with this project. The floodgate project is probably going to take, if we ever are successful, I don't see this happening for many years, quite frankly. But what I'd like to see is the board do, if you know when they took the sand pile out on the I-95, the proposed I-95 sand pile in East Saugus, Speaker DeLeo was speaker at the time. They took the sand out to do Winthrop Beach. They promised us to restore the marsh down in East Saugus. They wanted to dredge out from Easton Tool all the way down to the Bristol Street, take fill out of there to restore the marsh. The state approved the plan. However, the federal government, Ed Reiner from the EPA, did not. He wanted to do it his way. His way would have cost double the price of the project, and so Speaker DeLeo and the state said, no, we're not going to spend the money on that. I think we need to push this project again. I know the guy at the EPA, Mr. Reiner, has retired, and I think that's the second thing we should do. If the board will speak with the manager, if the board has to, send a letter out to the state and the state delegation and the governor's office to try to get them to come back and restore that marsh, and that would have provided, from Bristol Street to Eastern Tool, would have provided a lot of water compensatory storage during this storm. And I'd like to do those 2 things, support your floodgate project, as you said we should reintroduce, and try to get them to restore across the street from where I live, that marsh area across the street to provide, not only restore the marsh, but provide compensatory storage. And I think that would immediately, that's something that can be done right away. I mean, that project would have been completed within a year or two, from what I understand, if they started it. So that's probably going to be a better relief for East Saugus right away than the floodgate project, which would probably take another 15, 20 years to even get approved in construction costs. So that's.
Madam
if
Chair,
you're
can
all
I
set with
address that?
Thank you.
I just want to be clear that the updated study will include the restoration of that marsh and the removal of the I-95 sand pile.
We don't need a study for that, Mr. Manugian. If we already had a plan, we have a plan approved by the state DCR. We don't need another plan. The plan's there. Let's try to get them to do the project. That's my thought on it.
Thank you, Selectman Sereno. Selectman Riley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do agree with Town Manager to invite state delegation to have a meeting here. I think that's something that we could do, fairly quickly to talk about the situation here. Through you to Mr. Manugian. In 2020, we had Mr. Hunt come to town meeting. He came on a Zoom meeting, at the time it was COVID, with the Board of Selectmen. We agreed to send a letter then, along with an application that we asked the town manager to give to Al Baker before August 31 of 2020, which was done. So I just have a question to you, is since 2020, were there any updates? Did you hear anything?
Yes.
Did it make any progress at that
Yes.
point? Thank you.
Yes. In fact, that was helpful because, as I pointed out, in December of '23, Congress voted to reauthorize the project, the study for the project. They just didn't fund it, and the president signed it. So yes, the project got back on the radar screen, and it was reauthorized. So now it just needs to be funded. And that, who does the appropriating? Congress. Congress needs to appropriate the money, and the state and the locals need to follow up for the study. So yes, it did help.
Thank you.
So it is my understanding Senator Markey is 100% on board. He's making this a priority. I had a long conversation with Representative Janino, her and Representative Turco, 100% in support of this project. I agree with my fellow selectmen that we should write a letter to our state and federal delegation stating that we want to move forward with the floodgate project. I've been attending all of the municipal vulnerability plan meetings. They've been talking about flooding in that area and trying to make whatever adjustments they could. There's been a lot of back and forth, but I agree that we need to do something now. I've never seen floods like this in Saugus. It was horrific what those people had to go through. It must have been terrifying to see the water rise, and if we can help by writing a letter, making phone calls, that is something that I would like to do. It's my understanding that the expedited authorization of the Saugus River study was included in the 2022 Water Resource Development Act, and which authorized the much-needed investment in the project and program of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers across the country, and there was no federal funding. So I think that you explaining to us the monetary commitment that we need to make is helpful moving forward, and we could, again, write the letter. I can work with the town manager as well as my fellow selectmen, and crafting a letter that I can bring back to our February 6th meeting and take a vote on it to see whether you all agree in the verbiage that I'm using. I will send it out prior to the meetings to get your input. Selectmen, I was going to talk about you. I was going to say, Selectman Sereno made an excellent point regarding the marsh restoration. You and I, or maybe you want to craft a letter on that? Would you, so you'd be willing to do that?
Yeah.
What were you going to say? I'm
I'll
sorry.
work with Peter on it.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I think, so I think these are all good ideas, and I commend Mr. Manu for bringing this forward so we can discuss this and sort
I'm
of.
sorry, I can't hear you.
about now? Can you hear me?
I hear you better. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
So
you,
I want to commend Mr. Manu for bringing this forward. I think this is a good discussion. I think a combination of what you're talking about makes sense. To me, strategically, and I think Selectman Serino and a couple of you have brought this up, and Mr. Manu as well, I think getting the other communities on board, so we're all have the same message, is going to have a lot more influence, just to get the study to be taken seriously, and getting all of our state delegation as well as the other 5 community state delegation on board, so there's a commitment. And I think the money is the least of the issue. It's not like, oh, we're going to show we do it. I think it works better if you have the elected officials in those communities and the appointed officials bringing them on board, and then them pushing and putting pressure on their state delegation to support this from a state standpoint. It makes more sense. Then we can move from there. But I think you need buy-in for that study. Even though we could all pay for it, it doesn't mean anything if they're really just sort of like, oh, okay, we'll see what happens. I really think you have to get them to have some skin in the game and to have that political support from each of the 5 communities.
Madam Chairman, that's
Selectman
what I was
Serino.
just going to say. We need to send a letter out and get the other communities on board.
Now, we do have somebody here from Revere. I know that Revere is on board. Would you mind, could I ask you a question? Would you mind coming up to the lectern and just give your name and address, please?
Angela Guarino, Sawaya, Ward 5 Counselor.
Thank you for coming this evening. So Revere is on board, because I work with Al Baker. It's my understanding that...
I was just talking to Elle
Okay.
and to our state rep, to Jessica Janino.
Mm-hmm.
We're on board with the study because the study that was done years ago, the MVP study, they were talking about 30 and 50 years that the water was going to start coming up. This past week, we saw 10.6 feet of waves, which was astronomical. I was knee-deep in Riverside in water. Now, we are all for the study, but I'm not all in for the floodgates, because you're going to alleviate the problem on one side, and then the water needs to go somewhere. And where is it going to go? It's going to go to the point, and the point is the Point of Pines, and we are going to end up underwater. So I do want the study. I want the Army Corps of Engineers or whoever it is that's going to do the study to come back with facts before we make any decisions. But we are all in.
Have you talked with any of the other communities?
No, I have not. I was with Elle today, and Tom Skavorsky and the mayor, we had this discussion. I'm nervous about what's going to happen if they do have the floodgates, to be honest with you. I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
The years that they were talking about is 30 to 50 years. I'm looking more like 10 to 15 years is when Rice Avenue in particular will be completely underwater.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, and I've had discussions with Angela about this, and the Army Corps' Bob Hunt has made it clear that the Point of Pines would receive the sand from the restoration of the marsh would go over there. But the study will address those concerns, and of course, Revere would have to be satisfied with what the study comes up with. But as the manager points out, we don't want someone to suffer for something that benefits one group. I believe that this can be resolved, this concern, and I'm glad that they're raising those issues, but they are on board for the study.
Selectman Ciccolini.
No, I think we're saying the same thing, but, I think the next step, I agree with Selectman Serino. We write the letter, we move this thing forward, try to push. I like the idea of trying to expedite or reinvigorate the previous project that had kind of stalled. But, we could talk about this until we're blue in the face. Ultimately, we need to do something to trigger this. Mm-hmm. I say a letter of support will go a long way, mm-hmm. and then take it from there. I just think that that's the next step in this process.
But I think it's 2 letters. I think the letter in support of the floodgate project, and then another letter regarding the marsh restoration. Peter? Hi.
Can I speak?
Of course you can.
I'm,
Just name
I'm-
and address, please, for the record.
My name is Glenn Bowie. I'm a business owner in Saugus. Yeah, 6 Bel Air Street, right off of Bristol, we were talking about there. It's definitely the worst I've ever seen. I've owned a business in Saugus for 40 years, and we moved to that side of Saugus like 20 years ago. And every year it gets worse. You know, when we had puddles in the street, it was okay. It came in my building the last 3 years, and it was a foot deep. And I have employees that have to stay home when that happens. The ground gets so saturated that all the pipes freeze, all the gas pipes, so I have to have the gas company come down probably 3 times a year, and they put a new meter on. That's their solution, just throw a new meter on. But it shuts down work for, you know, days, and I build elevators for a living, and the elevator business is like go, go, go. You know, if your elevator shuts down, people are screaming. So I'm there usually 7 days a week. Like I said, 40 years. I love Saugus. I've been a business owner in Saugus forever. I'm thinking of selling and getting out while I can. I know my business, my property isn't worth what it should be. I just don't know what to do anymore. You know, I see the Army Corps of Engineers comes down. I see them, I talk to them. You know, the last one I saw, I said, did somebody send you down? He said, no, I just heard them talking about this, and I thought I'd come down and take some pictures, which is fine. You know, and Ed Reimer, I've seen Ed Reimer over the years, and I understand his concerns. But I see the people in the neighborhood, you know, panicking. You know, it's 4 feet deep in the middle of the street, and it's just not doable anymore. I can't. I'm going to have to get out. We're already looking at properties, and I don't want to. You know, I love where I am. I'm right. It's beautiful over by the marsh. It's quiet down there, and my whole investment and my whole business is going to have to move to another city. And I don't know. You know, like I'm probably not the only one. You know, so they really should do something about this and do it now. If they're talking about it in 85 and 90 and then it got squashed and, you know, whatever happened. The water wasn't as bad back then. It's bad now, you know. I mean, it's dangerously bad, you know. So I just wanted to say, you know, I'm a friend of Peter's, and he told me to come down and speak, you know. So whatever you guys can do would be appreciated, but, you know, I'm thinking of moving, so, just so. But thank you.
Thank you.
Know, thank you.
Thank you. I think all 4 of us are, in the town manager, were empathetic. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, it was, none of us have seen flooding like that in Saugus before, and we want to be proactive. We want to do something to help.
Yeah, we see it, you know, 3 years ago, it would come up to the edge of the building, and 2 days later, it would dissipate. Now it's in the building. It's a foot deep. I have $200,000 machines in there that, you know, we just bought a couple of years ago, and the salt water and the, you know, it's just not good, you know, and I feel for the neighbors too. You know, I was calling Peter and saying what's, you know, his backyard, and, you know, he's right on the water, and, you know, just, I really think it's time for them to do something. And if, you know, whatever you guys can do, whatever you need me to do, if you need, you know, a letter from me or anything, you know, just, but, you know, we're already looking at properties somewhere else, another city. So it's a multi-million-dollar business, and we help Saugus. We pay our taxes, and, you know, we use the businesses and, you know, all the area stuff. I have 12 employees, and it's just, you know, I hate to move, you know, but, you know.
Thank you.
You guys know. You live here, you know.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, thank you for your time. I will conclude by just reminding you that Pevwell Drive gets buried with water, and they have
Yes.
underground utilities. So you can imagine the chaos that causes or could potentially cause. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Peter.
you.
And we appreciate you and Darren and Carl are coming representing Precinct 10 this evening, and all of the residents who came. And we will work on 2 letters, one regarding the floodgate project and the other one on the marsh restoration. I'm sure that we'll be talking over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be working with the town manager as well. So we thank you very much for coming in and bringing this to everyone's attention. The next item on the agenda is... Of course you can. Just your name and address, please.
My name is Richard Dusselblom. I live at 7 Naples Ave, Precinct 10. I'm in the middle of the flooding. I want to help you guys out with trying to get some financing for this project. In '95, I went to the Northeast Mosquito Control for mosquito problem, and they came down and I don't know if any of you are familiar, running parallel with Seagood Ave, they dug out the width of a football field all the way down, around the corner to Venice, and stopped halfway. So you go and ask for mosquito problem, they fix the flood, helps fix the flooding problem. And maybe she could help answer this one. In '95, '96, I went to a Revere watershed meeting, and I asked, how'd you get the floodgate over in Revere on Route 1? And they said, well, Exxon Valdez, that oil spill, we got a big grant, but we couldn't get it for flooding. And all the people wanted it for flooding. So they hired a botanist, and they went along the river, found all these plants that were protected. So to protect those plants, they got funding, well, a grant, free money from Exxon Valdez by hiring a botanist. Now, I know next to my house, the lot couldn't be built on half of it because all the plants that are protected. Maybe we can go that angle, hire botanists, and we're trying to save the erosion of the wetlands, trying to save the plants. Any way to get the money, we should be doing that. So maybe you guys can take a look. And over in your area, you maybe get the Northeast Mosquito Control to come out and clean that out because of the West Nile. So that's another avenue we can go. And we wouldn't have to pay for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Carla and Darren, do either one of you, would you like to say something that Peter hasn't already mentioned?
I'm just going to get up really quickly. Carla Scazzarella, Precinct 10, Carr Road. Peter spoke about everything that's important to the people in the precinct. And I just want to say, I've never seen Bristow Street as bad as it was, and I've lived there almost 30 years. And I live right around the corner on Carr Road. So Bristow was getting it from both ends, coming down the hill, down the street, and then coming up from the marsh area and the river. And people are just beside themselves. Water they've never seen. Not everybody has flood insurance down there, and it just makes it really difficult when you can't drive, you can't get out of there. There's no other way out of there without driving through the waves, so to speak. So please, I appreciate you listening to Peter, and I appreciate your concern, and I'm really hoping that we can move this forward because it is important to an entire precinct of our community, as well as the people across Ballard Street on that side of the river. The water was extremely high. For them to close 107, I've lived in Saugus a long time. That's a rare thing that 107 gets shut down to traffic. So we need some help, and hopefully letters will do it. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
And thank you as well. Mr. Ring, did you want to say anything, or you good? Okay. All right. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Kowloon. We received the police report about the incident that happened the night before Thanksgiving, and I would like to call a show cause hearing, not a specific date at this point, because I want to make sure it's a date that we can get our attorney here, as well as make sure we have a full board. Would somebody please make that in the form of a motion that at some point we're going to call a show cause hearing to discuss what happened that evening?
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Riley.
I would just like to make a statement that I had filed a disclosure before I say anything on it.
Sure.
With the town clerk of my association with Donald Wong and the family. So I just want everyone to know, just like prior things that have come here, in no way will it affect my participation on this issue or anything else moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Riley. Is there any further discussion? Would somebody make a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion, we call a show cause hearing for Kowloon, and the date will be at the call of the chair, because we have to get our attorneys lined up.
Yes, we do. And that's seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Sereni's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing. It was at 7:15. Is there anybody here from Long Noodle House? It's my understanding that they want to withdraw without prejudice. Is that correct, Janice?
Pardon me?
The fir-
Long
Yes.
Noodle wants to withdraw
Yes,
without...
they'd like to withdraw
Yes.
without prejudice. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll make that.
In the form of
I'll
a
make that
motion?
in the form of a motion that we allow Long Noodle to withdraw their application without prejudice.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Ciccolini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you, Selectman Ciccolini.
You're welcome.
Next is the 7:20 PM hearing, public hearing. It's for Flow Golf Lounge, 880 Broadway, Unit E and F, Saugus, Mass. Thane Nagin owner requesting a common victuals license and an entertainment license to be located at 880 Broadway, Unit Number 10. Good evening. Your name and address, please, for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tan Nguyen of 273 Lincoln Street, Revere, Massachusetts.
Good evening. My name is Kong Mai, 57 2nd Street, Malden.
Thank you. And when you do speak, you're going to have to speak directly into there so that everybody's able to hear you. Thank you very much. Can you explain what it is that you are planning? We don't, typically, when we have someone coming before the board looking for a common victualer's license, we have a menu. We have a floor plan. We have, I don't see any menu. I don't know what it is you're planning on serving. And there's information that we would typically have before the board that we do not have this evening. Do you have anything to hand out to us this evening?
I have a floor plan I can hand out to you, but I only have one.
I think we have the floor plan.
Right, so prior to this meeting, I met with the Board of Health, Lisa DeMonico.
She's the clerk,
Right,
yes.
she's the clerk, and we are going to submit a plan review after this meeting. So I have everything that is required, the menu, the floor plan. We're also going to be installing an external grease trap per their recommendation and requirement. The menu is really going to be focused on kind of like a bar menu with finger food appetizers. We're going to be focusing on pizza and sandwiches, something kind of you would get at a golf course. That's the extent of the menu. We're not going full blown out like steak dinners or anything like that.
Okay, so do you have a plan to share with us?
I have a floor plan.
Not the floor plan, but do you have a plan that you could kind of go through it with us? Because the Board of Health, when I spoke with the Board of Health director, they were looking for a plan. So you're telling me that you're going to go to the Board of Health after typically you have everything set with the Board of Health before you come to us?
Okay,
Madam Chairman?
Yes, please.
So just to add to that, I think, so I was just asking Janice, so generally the procedure, and I don't know what's happened, but the general procedure is when somebody wants to open a business or do something, their first stop is inspectional services. Inspectional services is supposed to give them direction on what they need to do, what departments, what needs to be submitted prior to ever going to the selectman's office. So I don't know how that's happening, because all the stuff that you're talking about is supposed to be already reviewed and recommended or not recommended to the board prior to an application. So the first stop is inspectional services. My question would be, have they talked with the building commissioner? And is the building commissioner giving you direction before applying to the Board of Selectmen?
So we submitted for an S2 license, and in that submission, I think it was in October, we got approved for the business, which is to build the simulators and the bathroom. And by my mistake, I left out the kitchen part. It
Well,
should all went-
that's a big issue, a kitchen.
Right. So per the direction from the last meeting, we resubmitted for this meeting. And in doing that, I went to the Board of Health and I said, you know, do I talk to the Board of Selectmen first and then submit my plan review? And she said that is fine. And I reviewed with everything, and that's when we talked about the external grease trap, the layout and everything. So I don't know if it's, are we doing something before?
Yes, so basically, what you, I mean, just a kind of hindsight, the procedurally, through you, Madam Chairman, is that you should have went back to the building commissioner. And then the building commissioner would, you know, if you said, oh, okay, I forgot to put a kitchen, that we were going to have a kitchen, then the building commissioner would direct you to go here, you know, where to go, that you need to submit a plan to the Board of Health, you need to do this or whatnot, prior to coming back to the Board of Selectmen. And I think maybe we can talk, you know, internally with the Selectmen's office, but people that are coming up to apply should have some kind of a, you know, building commissioner that's saying that they're free to go there, because you could go there, or another business, go down there, and they could say, you know, you can't go to the Selectmen yet, you need to get a zoning board of appeals variance, or you need to go to the planning board, or you need to do whatever. It sounds like, you know, and it may not be your fault either, but it doesn't sound like everything was communicated so that the board at a hearing like this could actually make a decision. They don't have the information. There's only so much you can stretch this to say, well, it's contingent on 10 different things that we're going to approve you, because they really, doesn't sound like, I talked to the health director the last day or two, it hasn't been a plan that he's reviewed. He hasn't seen a plan
Okay.
to be able to even make a recommendation. So, you know, you might run into a thing where you're not even able to put a grease trap in, right? So then you might, you know, it could be a million different things, but I'm just saying, like, that's the procedure, and it seems like you're on an agenda and you're here. They have no information to be able to make a decision. You know, sometimes they can, well, it's contingent on this and whatnot, but it's sort of getting far-fetched from the field, I think, for the selectmen to be in that position. You know, everybody's for whatever you're trying to do. We're trying to be supportive, but I think everything has to be in order, so it makes it easier for the selectmen to make decisions.
I don't necessarily have an issue with you having a kitchen
Right.
and having food.
Right.
It's just that the process seemed a little backwards.
I understand the confusion. So is the first step is to go to the building inspector? Is that?
Building commissioner. yeah.
Commissioner? Okay.
Yeah.
And then?
And they should be giving you guidance, every business,
Okay.
on where to go, whatnot. And then if you happen to go up to the selectman's office, then the selectman's office should be saying, did you speak to the building commissioner? And then confirming with the building commissioner that everything's in order.
Okay.
That it doesn't seem that that's the situation here. Everything's sort of contingent on something you're going to do later. So it's harder for, what is the board approving if they don't have department heads with the information?
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Sereno?
just to follow up what the manager said, we have a recommendation from the building commissioner that they need to install an external grease trap, but that should really come from the Board of Health. And how can they make a decision without a menu?
Right, so the building commissioner stating that, then a plan should have been presented for the inspectional services and the Board of Health to review what the plan is for a grease trap, and then a decision, you know, about what they're going to do. And sometimes, a lot of times, this stuff is required before they come to the Board of Selectmen. You know what I mean? Like that, if, when we sat on here before, when the board made the decisions, they'd have to have a grease trap in place before we'd approve anything. I think, you know, and I'm, you know, do what you want, but I think it's sort of getting so far extended to be contingent on a plan that's going to go in later that may not even be approved. And then we run into, you know, this issue of things aren't done, and then they're like, well, geez, I thought they had a grease trap, and then they get an occupancy permit, and it just becomes confusing, I think, for the process.
I think we also need to find a way to kind of expedite things too, because you mentioned that you were dealing with this in October.
Yes.
Maybe we as a town need to have a communication with all the department heads to let them know that until so-and-so signs off,
Yeah.
it can't go here. We can't go out of order. If they go to the Board of Health and the Board of Health says, yep, now you go to the Board of Selectmen, I don't fault you for coming to us because you're only doing what you were told to do. So,
I agree, yeah.
so we need to have scripted procedures that says when someone comes for a common victuals license, or someone comes for an entertainment license, or someone comes for an S2 permit, here's the order of priority and the order that they're gonna go through and what needs to get completed, so that the applicants know what's expected of them. For you to be apologizing for something that you don't know the answer to and you were just doing what you were told, I don't think you need to apologize. I think it's on us, and I think we need to fix it, so that you better know what you do. As far as I'm concerned, I welcome this business with open arms. I think we all do. And I want to find a way to expedite this. I don't want this thing waiting, months. Let's figure it out. You got to get a grease trap. Let's work to get a grease trap. But I can promise you that we'll fast track getting you back on an agenda here if we decide not to take action tonight.
Okay.
I want to make sure that this is understood from all department heads, that this is going to be a priority.
We appreciate
so
it.
that we can move this along in the process.
I have everything filled out for the Board of Health. It's been done since October. We got a survey for the grease trap. I mean, at the same rate, we want to do everything that is required by the town.
Yep.
It seems like we're almost kind of running in circles at this point. And
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have a fantastic concept. These are successful throughout the state, and I think we all want to get it done.
Right.
But I want to just make sure that wherever you go, you're not going to get the runaround. So maybe through your office.
Right,
we
so,
can-
so
we can make
here's a
sure-
perfect example, through you, Madam Chairman. So you're saying that, I talked to the health director 2 days ago, and he said he does not have a full plan
I
that's
have it ready
required.
to submit. My thought was to get approval tonight and then submit.
Okay, and I'm not trying to, I'm saying.
not
you-
blaming- I'm not
but you-
saying-
No, I know, but you just said prior to that, you told the selectmen that you already had this stuff submitted back in October. That's not the case.
No, not
Yeah.
to the Board of Health. We had it ready to submit after that meeting. And, I mean, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. It's
Yeah.
just, I think we're just a little confused on our end, but
And to be honest with you, I've been on this board for 10 years, and I'm confused. So, I want to make sure that we're not putting the cart before the horse, and we're not wasting everybody's time having you come here, and we're taking up, you've been sitting in the audience for 2 hours, waiting for your turn to come up, and then this is frustrating. So, for me, not because of you, but for me as an individual, so I can imagine what it does for you. So the bottom line is, I want to find out next steps. If the next steps are he has to take his menu and his plan for the grease trap to the inspectional services and the Board of Health, or the health inspector, get those approvals in place, and then come back to us.
Yes, meet the
I
building
think so,
commissioner,
I
too.
don't.
Building inspector, yeah, I said inspector. So you're going to meet with Mike Lavecchia,
yep,
the inspectional services.
Yes.
And you're going to meet with John Freilich, the health inspector. I would contact them and ask them exactly what they need before you meet with each one of them.
Okay.
Tell them you came before us and this is coming from us.
okay.
You want to make sure you're bringing everything to the meeting so that you can get approvals.
Yep.
When you come back to us, then it should be pretty much a slam dunk.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Sereno.
just a couple more things so you can straighten them out. On your application, you're applying for an all alcohol liquor license.
Yes.
But
That is,
not in this
not in
hearing.
this-
They're going to come back, they're in the purchase.
Oh,
They're
you're
the
in-
ones that want
okay.
to.
Yeah, it's not tonight, though.
And just one other thing, on your floor plan, you have 99 seats on your floor plan,
And the
but on
thing
your
says-
Yeah, I
application.
saw that too.
Oh, that
The
might,
application for the entertainment license says 71.
it's
seats.
71. That's probably an old floor plan that I submitted. It's 71.
I just wanted to point that out so you get everything straightened out when
Okay,
you come
thank
back
you.
before us.
If we
Okay.
can have that updated, that'd be great. I noticed the same thing. All right, so I think we're going to need a motion to continue. Was there
continue
anybody here that wanted to speak either in favor or opposed before we continue? Okay,
So, Madam Chair, I'm going to ask, our next meeting is?
February 6th.
February 6th. Will that, Mr. Manager, would that be enough time for them to meet with the department heads that they need to meet with?
I don't know, I mean, I don't want to act like I know the details of it.
Yeah.
I would say that they have to meet with them, and then they'll have a better idea. I don't know if that's the only thing they have as an issue. That's what that's what inspectional service is supposed to do, is take a look at the whole application and what they're trying to do, and then direct them and where to get approvals. But I would say go down tomorrow. I'll mention,
Yeah,
I'll talk to them downstairs.
I want to make sure this is fast-tracked, I want to continue this to our next meeting.
Okay.
It's February
6th.
6th. I want to continue this, I don't want to kick this can down the road.
Okay.
So I'll ask that the manager contact the inspectional services and health department, his office can let them know what we're trying to accomplish here.
Okay.
And make sure that you're all on the same page.
And then I'll go and submit my plan review with the Board of Health tomorrow.
Yep, and you're gonna meet with inspectional services as
Right,
well.
with Mike.
You gotta find out what else you need to do.
Because
what
they're
you're
two
trying to
different
do.
departments.
Right.
Mike Levesque is inspectional services, Freilich is on the,
Right,
on the health
understood.
department side.
Yep.
All right? But
Yep.
then we can come back here on the 6th, February 6th, and we can vote on your convict license and on your entertainment
Madam
license.
Chairman.
Okay.
Selectman Sereno?
Just for the record, I will not be here February 6th.
You will not. Well, you're gonna have to zoom in from Florida.
No, I mean, no, that's, if you guys want to proceed, that's
So,
fine. I just
the other thing I was gonna ask too, I did not notice, I noticed the simulators.
Yes.
How many simulators?
10.
10, and are you gonna have televisions?
Yes, there's 8 TVs on the, it should be on the floor plan against the
15 TVs?
8 TVs.
8 TVs.
That's correct.
8 TVs and 10 simulators?
That's correct.
Okay.
We already voted for golfing, so that would be part of the simulators, right?
I think, what do you mean we voted for golfing?
We already voted for Flow Golf Lounge,
Yeah, for the lounge, yeah.
for the lounge and for the golfing.
Yeah.
So now
I don't know
we're,
if we approved
the simulators?
so whatever, we'll do it when they come.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. So,
All right.
All right, so I'll make that in the form of a motion that we continue this to our February 6th meeting.
Okay.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. We'll
Thank you
see
so
you in a
much.
couple
Thank
weeks.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
The next public hearing is Mr. Julian Caros, 1 Olson Street, Wilmington, requesting a special permit to operate a Lloyd Personal Training and Fitness Center to be located at 198 Walnut Street, formerly Weight Watchers, Saugus, Mass. 01906. Is Mr. Julian Caros in the audience? Now, it's my understanding, Janice?
This is going to be continued.
Janice, it's my understanding, did he send a letter asking to be continued?
He called me this morning.
He called you today to ask for it to be
Because he
continued
hasn't been able to get
to the
time.
February, so we're going to need to continue this until our February 6th meeting. Would somebody
I'll
make?
make that in the form of a motion.
Thank you, and that's seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the board? We all know who you are, but your name and address for the record, please.
How you doing?
Hello.
Joe Vecchione, 31 Wamasett Ave.
How you doing, Joe?
Good afternoon, or good evening, board. It's been a while. Just a couple of things, just a couple of status updates that I'm seeking. Actually, first, I think in 2020 or 2021, we invited state delegation during COVID times to a meeting, and I felt that was actually a really positive meeting. Senator Crichton showed up, Jessica Giannino and Donald Wong, and that ended up being a pretty fruitful meeting because we learned from Senator Crichton about the extension of the Shared Streets grant, which we ended up getting a $100,000 grant for. We got an update from Donald Wong on the crossing beacons, and then I spoke with Jess Giannino on the grants pertaining to Cliftondale at the time. So I think that just from earlier talk with Mr. Manugie in here, that might be something that we bring back and invite them again, kind of at an open forum setting. I thought that was a pretty good idea. But just a couple of status updates. I came before this board late last summer, just inquiring about the MBTA communities laws. I know we're due to submit a plan by the end of this year. So that was end of summer, and I had inquired about the public outreach. I know there was some changing rules on the plan at the time, so I understood at the time that, things were unclear. But based on the plan that we submitted, the public outreach was supposed to be between October and February, and that's been, either through the Board of Selectmen, planning directors, town managers or mayors, depending on the city and town. So I'm just inquiring of when and if that's going to happen. And then, the same with the planning board meetings, that was in the same time frame. That hasn't occurred yet. I know, this is a pretty important law, and something I've been seeking clarity on because, we talked earlier about the MVP grants. We talked about the grants that fund our Saugus Housing Authority. Governor Haley and the AG Campbell have doubled down in the past week about about if we don't submit a plan that complies, what happens. I know a couple towns in the South Shore are currently dealing with this. That were rapid transit communities that were, a year earlier than us, that they had to submit a plan. Excuse me. And then, yeah, I'm just seeking an update there. I know I had submitted an email a couple weeks ago, and I haven't received a response back. And then just another update I've been seeking is just regarding the 2 properties in Cliftondale Square. I know they've been sitting vacant for a couple of years. I've seen with the opening of the cafe across the street, I've actually seen that lot starting to be used as parking. But I'm just seeking next steps for that property and a time frame for the plans. I think they have to go before town meeting in terms of the use again. I'm not sure if that's right. I know we voted to purchase the properties, but I know the use was something that was debated in town meetings in the past few years. So those are just kind of 2 questions I pose to the board or the town manager, whoever wants to field them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Town Manager, do you have an update that you'd like to give tonight, or would you prefer later on?
Yeah, I'll take a look, but I guess just with the MBTA thing that we're, I think, doing with, I've been in touch with other managers and mayors from other communities that, as everybody, I think, is aware.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have to try to get new mics. These mics are tough.
Yeah. we're gonna-
But I've been in touch, discussions with other towns and cities with their leadership. There's a lot of the communities that are trying to figure out how to navigate that. And we're in the same thing. We have a consultant that we just actually had a meeting on it today. And, we're putting together, plans and trying to do an evaluation of the zoning and different areas that could be potential to do that. And when they get that information put together, they'll, start to try to do the outreach and get everybody informed and try to meet the deadline for December 31st.
Yeah.
The other question.
Could I ask a follow-up question?
Selectman Serino would like to ask.
That's all I have for information right now.
Thank you, Selectman Serino.
Yeah, just a comment. I know the MBTA, the zoning bylaw, Chapter 3A, that zoning bylaw, when that was proposed for Cliftondale Square, that was proposed as, we're going to see single people at that location. But that's the 3A zoning, MBTA zoning is for families. It has to be for families. 2, 3-bedroom apartments, not single-bedroom apartments. And I think I had asked you about Route 1, I think we were looking into
Yeah,
it.
so now they've changed the regulations, so we can get credit up to like 25% for some of the zoning. We just have to look at the parking on some of the zoning that we've already done on Route 1. So that's part of, we're doing a full analysis now of the zoning, and we're going to hopefully have like maps put together so that we can identify different areas that would be able to qualify for this.
Right.
Obviously, I don't have to tell any secrets here, right? The most people in the town of Saugus, we have almost, I think, in the last 5-6 years, and in the pipeline now, we have over probably 4,000 units that are coming online. And this law here is sort of trying to impose another 1,000 or more on top of this. So we're building apartments. Who are we building the apartments for? I don't know a lot of Saugus residents that are moving into the apartments. So obviously, we have to balance the what the community wants and what the elected and
like I
appointed
said,
officials.
That MBTA zoning, that's supposed to be all families, no single bedrooms. They want all families under that zoning.
Yep.
And we're an adjacent community.
Correct.
To Lynn.
Yeah, so we don't have as
We don't
higher
have to have it in
requirements.
Cliftondale.
Correct.
We can have it anywhere in town,
Yep.
which would, Route 1, you have a bus line going by Route 1 anyhow. That
Right.
would be the more logical place for me to
Yeah.
have that.
Well, they're cutting the bus lines, right? Every year they have a hearing on less stops and less times, but we're trying to make people commute and have no parking.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with Route 1 is a lot of it's not served by the MBTA or within a half mile of an MBTA stop, and that's going
Buses
to,
run by Route 1 every day.
yeah, they don't stop there, though.
Yes, they
Not
do.
many of the
Square
developments.
One Mall, Coles on Walnut Street, 429.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. but,
Walmart, I think there's a bus that goes up to Walmart.
But not the residents that actually live there currently, you know.
Actually, I've gotten a lot of letters from Target, Walmart. I've sent letters to the MBTA.
But do people live there?
Requesting stops.
Right, they request them, but you know, the
They-
MBTA hasn't
they
been,
won't do it.
they haven't been very friendly
They
to our
keep
town the
count-
last
they
couple
keep
of
count-
years.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Well, even
I've asked them for Avalon Bay.
Yeah.
Essex Landing.
Oh, I agree.
I get no response from the MBTA.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a battle. I mean, it's, and I agree with the town manager that the state is moving the goalpost, but they've been very clear that, you know, Governor Haley has been very clear that this is a priority for them, and they're going to enforce it with every extent of the law, and I'm just trying to be conscientious of and respectful of that, but also, you know, respectful for our town and make sure we're developing responsibly. But at the same time, we don't want to get caught in litigation for not complying. I know a lot of towns are dealing with that now, specifically towns that have passed that deadline. So
Yeah, and I
I
think-
wouldn't call myself a housing advocate, but it's definitely,
Well, it's a state,
it's an issue.
well, it's a national issue, housing, right?
Yeah.
It's a state issue that they're really trying to impose to have the impact on communities. So, and I, you know, I think this is, you know, when I go out and talk to people, and obviously we had an election, and that was a big issue about the overdevelopment, more apartments, not wanting them, and traffic congestion. It's a national and a state, you know, policy issue that they're trying to impose and push down to local, you know, places like Saugus or Wakefield or any of these places, Marblehead, Melrose.
extends
The,
far.
the challenge is trying to comply with what the law and what they're asking communities to do. But the reality is it's that we're bearing the burden of trying to solve a national and state policy issue with the impact being on us. I mean, how many apartments is enough? I mean, even the governor just recently has proposals now that it would override all local zoning to allow any single residence in the whole state to be able to become a multifamily apartment without any approval of the local government.
Because they leave the borders open, that's
Yeah.
why.
So there's a whole, you know, issue there. What we're trying to do is figure out with a consultant and bringing them on is how to be in compliance. And there's some different strategies and there's some changes that have been made that I think we can sort of get credit. If we hadn't done any development in the last 6, 7, 8, 10 years, in 10 years, then we've been in a different situation. To add on, you know, we have properties already up there that are, you know, within the next 5 years will be, you know, major housing, I think, initiatives on top of the 1,000 plus units that they're required under the MBTA. But we're working on doing that. We actually had a meeting today and trying to get a map and put together so that we have an idea and then try to roll out what we can. I know there are other communities that are even fighting this and you know, in court over stuff because I think that it's sort of like before they tried to say, well, they're not going to fund the housing authority, which had nothing to do with it. It's illegal, but it would have been challenged. But I think that the trick here is trying to figure out how to comply with it without having too much impact because we already have a whole bunch of housing and apartments that are online. And the thing I get from everybody is we're building apartments. Who are we building them for? Because they're not for Saugus residents. So it's a quick way to change the character of a community, better or worse. I mean, if you buy, when I go out there talking to people say, well, I bought Saugus because we don't have parking meters, we don't have a lot of traffic lights. You know, in other communities, you could go to Boxford. It can change a whole community that you bought a house and thinking this is the type of community it is. Where these policies that are in these laws that they're being passed in this administration is pushing down to turn everybody into, you know, Lynn or Revere or Malden with the housing, with reducing parking. So in other words, you're basically reducing parking so that they have a right to do something, but don't have to have the parking for it, with the idea that, oh, there'll be commuters, but like we just talked about, there's no real commuting avenues from Saugus. So where do you park your car? Now you're gonna be parked on the street, you're gonna be parked in front of other people's neighborhoods. It changes, sort of, there's other places like Everett and Malden that people drive through. It can change the character of a town pretty quickly. So I think we're trying to balance that, and when they come up with something, I'll be happy to, we'll get the information out and do what we can. We sort of make sure we comply with things, but sometimes they take a little longer.
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Riley.
through you to either Mr. Vecchione or the town manager, is there a cutoff date of this? Is there a?
December
So
31st.
it's December 31st
Of
unless
this
they
year?
extend it.
Yeah.
My guess is that, they didn't extend the other deadline, but my guess is that there's probably going to be some sort of, there may be an extension on this, but we're shooting for the December 31st.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's where the crux of the question comes is, when does that public outreach really happen? I know you're
Yeah.
working on it, but, based on the plan, which I understand it's a preliminary action plan, but based on the plan, that zoning article or articles were to be taken up in May, which would align with the annual town meeting. And I know there's some procedural things that needs review by the state and the Attorney General's office before that December deadline. I just want to be cognizant that town meeting members and the public have the time to respond and react to whatever's proposed. I know one thing that was critical last year was when I was bringing the Cliftondale article up, I brought it up in January, and I was told it was too late. And now we're going into February. If we're going to see something in May, I'm very concerned, specifically what a no vote entails. It carries a little bit more weight than the Cliftondale article. The Cliftondale article, you vote no, and goes away. This doesn't go away. This has a lot of strings attached to it.
It may not pass either.
Right.
No matter when you
Right.
have, but if it's not in May, it'll be, we can have a special, it'll be whatever. The plan that was submitted to satisfy things with an idea of when that would happen, and it's not written in stone. There's no benchmarks from a plan that was submitted.
I'm just following the plan that we submitted, in terms of those dates. So I get it that things change. I
Yep.
just, want to be, as a former town meeting member, you always like to have enough time to review something. So just keep that in mind when, if and when that article comes before us. And I don't want to take up too much time. I know one of the things on the agenda took up a half an hour, but just the other kind of question regarding any updates on the Cliftondale properties.
I don't have anything right now. We've secured the properties, and we'll have to put a plan together that there'll be support for. I think the idea was to do a parking lot, but we'd have to get sort of some support for whatever we do. As you know, whoever comes up with the idea is the person that takes the brunt of the idea.
I know
so
that.
we have to, I don't know if we'll get a consensus of what to do there, but we're going to be probably putting a plan together sometime this year, and trying to figure that out with the board and myself, and getting some input. But I think the initial idea was to turn those into parking lots, and I did, we're in the process of, may not happen, but we're trying to secure additional funds on top of the federal funding that I was able to secure for the town at $2.3 million, which I think is a lot of money, but I think we may need a little bit more than that to demo them and create deal with lighting and drainage possibly, and repaving.
Yeah, 2.3 doesn't go a long way nowadays.
No.
And last question, so since those properties have been, or I'm hearing that we haven't taken, we haven't had any meaningful steps in terms of, the house that we bought, if there was any asbestos or any sort of remediation efforts prior to demolition. Has there been anything done in regard to the due diligence on those properties since they've been?
No, we've done a lot of it. We've secured the properties, we have cameras, all that type of stuff, and we check on them, I think once a week or once every 2 weeks. But as far as any kind of, as you know, any kind of demolition there's going to be mitigation and things that'll have to be addressed. But it doesn't, it's just like any other project, whether it's a school that we took down or whatnot, there'll be a cost involved in doing whatever when you have to mitigate, depending on what year it was built and if there's caulking that has asbestos or any of that stuff. But there's nothing in the initial look at it prior to purchasing, there wasn't anything that jumped out that would be different than, that made us sounded any alarms.
All right. Well, looking forward to this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Vecchione.
Mr. Vecchione.
Would somebody,
Madam Chair?
Selectman Chicalini?
I'd like to take the appointments, make a motion to take the appointments out of order. I know we have some people in the audience that have been waiting, and if we could do the appointments, I think that would be a
Thank
good
you.
thing for them.
Thank you, and I'm going to second that. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Selectmen appointments, we have Saugus Cable TV, and we have two people here this evening. We have Mark Stevens, and we have Sue Palumba. And Sue is looking for a reappointment for 3 years, and Mark would be new to the board. So I don't know if you want to come up together or go up individually.
And these are what, 3 years? Should be 2026. December 30th.
7.
Is it effective immediately?
1/31/27.
Oh, 1/31.
Okay, good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Selectmen, ladies and gentlemen. Having served on the Saugus Cable Board, I found immense satisfaction in actively participating and contributing to various community endeavors. I'd like the opportunity to be reappointed to the Board of Directors and am enthusiastic about continuing my role and contributing further to the growth and success of our community initiatives. Thank you for your consideration and continued involvement in this important community service.
I want to thank you very much for continuing on. You've been doing a phenomenal job, so thank you for that.
Madam Chair?
Selectman Chicalini?
Yeah, I would definitely echo that, and I'd be happy to make the motion that we reappoint Sue to the Cable Board for a term of 3 years, expiring January 31st, 2027.
And that's seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? You wanted to say something,
Madam
Mr. Serino?
Chairman, yeah, I want to thank you, Sue, for re-signing back up for the board, because I know we're going through some tough times right now, and we really appreciate you being on there again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Serino. Selectman Riley?
Yeah, just to thank you for stepping up again, and I hope you have a successful 3 years. Thank you,
Thank
Sue.
you. Thank you.
So all those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Congratulations, Sue, and thank you for all your hard
Thank
work
you
and
so much.
volunteerism. And Mr. Stevens, good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. Mark Stevens, 30 Hamilton Street, apartment 21. I understand there's a process to this, and I didn't expect any vote to be taken. I'm basically here this evening just to introduce myself to the board. I've written a brief remark I'd like to share with the board. I'm here this evening to seek the opportunity I'm here this evening to seek an appointment to the Saugus Cable TV Board of Directors. First, thank you to everyone who had a part in the development of the Saugus Cable TV studio on Main Street. I believe local TV programs are vital to the community to inform, educate, and entertain. I look forward to this opportunity, if appointed, to serve with experienced cable board members, Donna, Maureen, and Sue, to continue this important program. I'll end with this. Thank you to all Saugus residents who volunteered to serve in our town, to make Saugus a better place to live. You have inspired me. Thank you for your consideration, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens, and I will mention that you did go to at least one of the board meetings. I heard, I talked with Sue and Maureen and everyone that was at the meeting, and they said that they really appreciate your participation. So I do thank you for stepping up. Board members?
Oh, welcome. I'm glad you volunteered for it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Would somebody like to make a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Oh, sure. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mark Stevens to the Saugus Cable Board with the term beginning,
Ending 1/31/27.
ending 1/31/27.
And that is seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Riley's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Congratulations to you. And
Congratulations.
Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you very much. We're so nervous tonight because I'm so respectful of all of you.
And we
respect all of you
appreciate
very
that, but
much.
don't be nervous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We also have the reappointment of Pasquale DeFeo, 84 Trevelyan Road, Revere, Mass., for the position of constable. I'm sorry you had to wait. You look like you were sleeping back there. Hi, could you please give your name and your address,
Pasquale
please?
DeFeo Jr., 84 Tree Valley Road, Revere.
And you have served for the town of Saugus for the past 15 years and as a constable for over 48 years.
Well, right now, 56 years altogether.
Very
Wow.
good. Do board members have any questions? Do board members have any motions?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we reappoint Pasquale DeFeo Jr. to a constable, and the term is 3 years, and I think it expires on your anniversary, which is, do you know his anniversary? It'll be on his anniversary date. I think it's 1st of March.
And that's seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Selectman Sereno's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you, board.
Good luck.
Bye now.
Good luck.
You want me to take up my appointments, Madam Chair?
I'm sorry?
You want me to do my appointments now?
Absolutely, Mr. Town Manager. We'll go to Town Manager report.
Okay, you have bring before you a reappointment to the Board of Assessors. Bring before you the name of Jennifer Dion, 34 Myrtle Street, who will be reappointed to the Board of Assessors for the town of Saugus upon your approval. The appointment will take effect immediately and expire on December 31st, 2026.
Somebody like,
Madam Chairman,
Selectman Chicalini.
I'll make a motion that we affirm and approve the reappointment of Jennifer Dion to the Board of Assessors. Take her term taking effect immediately and expiring December 31, 2026.
And that's seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Roll call, please.
Thank you. Selectman,
Chicalini.
no, we gotta go, guys.
Oh, okay.
Selectman Riley,
Yes.
Selectman Sereno,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chicalini,
Yes.
Chair Panetta.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Mr.
Thank
Town
you.
Manager.
I have an appointment to the Commission of Disability. I bring before you the name of Melissa Tilton, 38 Elaine Avenue, who will be appointed to the Commission of Disability for the town of Saugus upon your confirmation. The appointment will take effect immediately and expire on December 31st, 2027.
Somebody please confirm that.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I'll move that we confirm the appointment of Melissa Tilton to the Commission of Disability, her term effective immediately and expiring December 31, 2027.
And that's seconded by the chair. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Selectman Riley,
Yes.
Selectman Sereno.
Yes.
Vice Chair Chicalini,
Yes.
Chairman Panetta.
Yes. Motion carries 4-0. I want to thank Jennifer Dion and Melissa Tilton for stepping up and volunteering for our town. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Town Manager?
That's
Do you have
all I
anything else to report this evening?
That's it this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager.
Madam Chair?
Selectman
I'll make a
Chicalini.
motion that we go back to our regular order of business and go to citizens' comment.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? Yes, sir. Good evening. Your name and address, please, for the record.
Richard Dusel on 7 Naples Ave.
Good evening.
Good evening. Did you guys receive my packets?
We did.
Okay. Did you read, I'm asking for a policy change that the residents of the town be notified if they're given an estimate, because I've been given 16 estimates in the last 8 years with no notification. My real estate taxes were increased from 10,000 to 12,500 square feet for 2 years. I caught it the second year. They said, too bad, that extra $1,500 that you paid, we're keeping it. And I should have been given a notice. That's a significant change on my real estate taxes. So the town's not giving out notices when they're increasing our bills. We're giving estimates. And I think that should be a policy change.
Do you want to address that? Would you like me to go first?
You can go first, Madam
Okay. Good evening, and thank you for coming. First, the Board of Selectmen, we don't have any authority over water meters. However, with that said, I did have a long discussion with Wendy Hatch, who's our collector treasurer, when I did receive your packet. What she explained to me was they take a look at your actuals up until your meter was not working, as well as your historical results. So they try to come up with a reasonable usage for that time period. She also told me that she would like to get this issue resolved for both you and the town as soon as possible. If you could update your census, and then the next water bill that goes out is from August 23rd to February 24th. So if you could go and talk with her and meet with her and tell her how many people you have living, I believe you currently have a 2-family, and how many people have been living there during that time, as well as she said that, you know, she could go back, should look at the prior period as well to try to help resolve this issue. It's also my understanding that the DPW came to your home once on December 7th and then followed up again to try to change out that water meter, and they were unsuccessful getting into your basement to change out that meter. So the town wants to work with you. I will also mention that we, the town, we're working on a water meter program, a big project. We're going to be using AMI technology, where we're going to monitor the usage, come up with alerts. So if you do see spikes in your usage, if you do see anything, people could go online. So we're working on that project now. Hopefully we'll have that up in the very near future. Selectman Ciccolini?
Yep, you've covered just about everything. So I understand reading your information about the estimates, but just a question. You're not receiving the copies of the bills? Because my understanding is they're still mailing the copy of the bill to your home address, and they're labeled on them.
1/8 of an inch estimated. Without my glasses, I can't see it. My
No,
bank
but
pays
they-
it.
but
I
they-
open it up, I throw it, put it in my tax thing.
Right.
I don't see the estimate. There should be a stamp that says estimated
So the only reason
across
why it
or
goes,
notice.
but right now it's going through your escrow because
Correct.
when you stop paying your water bill, they
Correct.
put on a municipal lien. And
My
then-
lawyer said it's a city tax, and my bank will pay for the property taxes, but not the water bill. So I just don't pay for 1 year. It flips over into, my lawyer said it's called a city tax, but whatever
Yeah,
you want to
they
call
call
it,
it
they
a
pick it
mu-
up.
Municipal lien. So they have
And then
to-
they still put a lien on my house, even though they know the bank's going to pay it.
Right.
Which is crazy.
Right.
At least give me a year and a half so the bank can pay it instead of putting a lien on my house when you know you're going to get paid.
So
It's like a money grab.
Well,
It really is. That's what it feels like.
But looking at your usage, I understand your kids were living there prior to.
They're gone,
Right.
3 of them. Anthony, you know they're gone.
Yes, yes.
Colorado, San Francisco,
Yeah.
Florida. 3 of my kids are gone. They've been
Right.
gone during this whole time.
Right.
The pool wasn't used because I don't have the kids. The liner was ripped. I didn't fix it. I just opened it up last summer because my grandkids come up from Florida.
Yeah.
So there's a pool, 3 kids. Now I showed in the packet 4 tenants, 4 people that were my tenants. They were executed the eviction on August 2nd.
Yeah.
That's 4 more people for this bill cycle, plus my 3 kids. That's 7 people that aren't living there, that on your estimate, I'm gonna have to pay for.
Well, so this is the issue, though. If we can't get in to change out the meter, because my understanding is the latest picture that you did send showed that the meter hasn't moved
Right.
at all since
Correct.
like 20.
And I'll address that in a minute as soon as you're done.
No, but so my point is, they need to get in to change the meter. If not.
I agree.
If not, they have to bill based on estimate.
Right,
That's
but you
the-
gotta understand my angle. I didn't know it stopped. I had only seen the bill. I came in and spoke with her. I says, don't come out and take the meter, because I figured the dials were working. I need to get the dial. I don't want you to take it and then say, oh, the meter's broken, which it is, but I didn't know at the time. I says, just come out and take a read. And they came out, even after I told them, don't come out and take my meter, because I figured the dial was working. I called the plumber to come out. Found out after the plumber came in. They come out to take my meter, and I says, don't take my meter. You can't take it. Go in there and take a reading. No, I'm only here to take your meter. I go, well, that's my only proof of what I used. Well, now there is no proof. I'm hoping the plumber said that box that transmit, maybe somehow they collect the data through the impeller. That's what I'm looking at now. I'm trying to get some engineers to tell me if it is the reader, the dial, or the impeller. I want to find out what I really used.
So, in corresponding with the collector treasurer, they're gonna go by that reading that's on the water meter. If that's not moving.
It's not moving.
It's not gonna show you usage. So I would
It's not in the
strongly-
transmitter box?
No.
There's no data in there?
I
That's
would,
what I was
I
hoping
would
for.
strongly suggest you get your meter changed ASAP to stop the estimating process from continuing.
Right, but
Because
this
one-
bill cycle, they're still going to estimate it, aren't they?
They're gonna have to estimate at least a portion because your meter hasn't been changed out, so they have nothing to go, they have nothing to go by
understand.
right now. And the problem is, with no historical record, if you looked on your bill, and you saw, like, it says estimate, but it's only,
Eighth of an inch.
it's only gonna,
Really?
it's like me.
Exactly,
the
you
eyesight.
know.
But
Why can't the guy who comes out and does the reading, it doesn't work the first time, they tell an estimate, the second time it don't work, how about in the mailbox a notice, hey, your meter, I couldn't read it? Or why is it 16 times they bill me with an estimate that nobody says, let's give this guy a notice, let's make a phone call, let's send him a letter, let's stamp his bill that says estimate, real big and bold so I can see it. What about all the seniors in the town that, I can't read very well unless I have my reading glasses. So what about the seniors? They probably don't even, some of them don't even know what estimate means. What if their meter's broken? And in that request, I asked for an audit to see how bad this estimate thing is going on.
yeah, we would refer that to the manager. Obviously, we have no authority over the town's policies. and
I'll do a FOIA request for that then.
What?
I'll FOIA request for 2006 on, because that's when the meters were put in. How many
I
estimates were
mean,
given out?
to request an audit. We don't have the authority.
All
to
right,
do that.
I'll do a FOIA request and get the information that way.
I don't know what the FOIA.
I want to find out, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act.
I know what the
I'll put in
FOIA,
a
I know what a
request
FOIA.
asking how many estimates have been given out since 2006. So if it's like 500, there's obviously a problem that they're just looking the other way and not helping out the residents of this town. You should be here to help us out, not to just
Oh,
give...
you want to know how many estimates are issued?
How many have been
each
issued per year since the meters have been installed in 2006? Is this a bigger problem than just me? It could be a lot of seniors out there that can't eat or buy their prescription because they're paying an overinflated estimate. You know what I'm saying? It's more than just me. This isn't all about me.
I understand definitely where you're coming from. I just, looking at the estimates that they were using, even like a year after you were getting estimates, they were lower than your actual usage. If you look at that list that goes way back to like 2008.
If you look at my list, you'll see there's a couple of years, 17, 18,000. That's when my wife had all the kids over. She had the water
Right.
slides up with
But
the
then-
hose running. I don't have a water slide set up with hose running for 10 hours with all the kids playing on it.
I
My youngest is
I
21 years
understand.
old. I'm not out on a water slide with
I
10 hours of
understand.
water running.
But
I'm getting billed for it. I'm paying for a water slide that's out there running for 10 hours.
The estimates that they're billing on average is somewhere between 9 and 10.
12,000 was the last one. 12,000, 11,000, but my last.
So you got
bills.
you got a big one and a small one. So the big one's 9,500, the small one's 11,500. The average is 10,500. The years that you were getting actuals, there was 15,800, 13,600, 11,400, 13,700.
Again, I had kids. I had a pool going. I don't have a pool
I
going.
understand.
There's a lot of changes in my life. And I should be
I understand.
not paying for what went on in the past. I should be paying for what I'm doing now, what I'm using now.
I understand.
16 times, nobody notified me. You think
Well,
that's
no, you-
okay?
Right, you can't say that they didn't notify you because you were receiving bills that said estimate.
That big. Do you really think that's fair? Even on your taxes, that 12,500 that I got, again, 1/8 of an inch that big.
But those are like, you got to understand, those are standard forms that come out from a billing company. Those
All
don't come
cities
out
and
of.
towns have the same.
They use a billing company, the same.
I
Our billing
understand.
company is Linfields,
What's-
Wakefield's.
It's kind of like the electrical code, there's bare minimum, and then you can do a little bit better, you know what I'm saying?
Madam Chair?
You know?
So
Mr. Town Manager?
Yeah, I just wasn't clear. So when does he have an appointment to have the meter changed out?
I'm sorry?
When does he have a date to have the meter changed out? I didn't
He
hear that
had one
part.
on December 7th, and then he had one,
No, but I'm saying now, when
now
is?
I don't think you have
I'll
any date.
schedule one. I'm just waiting for one engineer to call. I know you're saying, I believe it. I told Christine, my wife, that too bad, we're probably going to eat about $15,000 in extra charges.
Well, and I get what you're saying, but you're saying that you weren't notified, but unfortunately, it's not like.
Legally, I was notified by 1/8, by quarter inch.
But that's,
Those are
every
standard
single
bills.
community uses the
Correct.
same billing company.
But does everybody have 16 estimates? When do you say, hey, this guy's not seeing this estimate, let's send him a notice, let's do, really, a stamp estimate right across? A stamp in red, that estimate, real big. This guy ain't getting it.
Yeah.
I think,
Really?
I think
You
that
should care
moving-
about the residents,
I
really.
think that for you, right now, I think that if you could set up the appointment and let them in your house
Yep.
to change the meter, I think
Once
that's.
I hear from the engineer and he
I
tells me
think that's
there's no
the-
way of,
But
I will
don't, but
set it
please
up and
don't,
come the next day.
please don't send them down your house again and not let them in.
I sent them down to take a reading only, and they came and would not take a reading, didn't know it was broken, and they wanted to take my meter. And at that point, I felt that meter was the only chance I had to prove what I used.
Yeah, because we were told they did come there with a brand-new meter.
With the brand new meter, but I told Wendy, do not come to take the meter. I will not let him in to take the meter. He can come in and take a reading.
But
And
the
when he
readings
came and I
have
told
been
that, he refused to come in and even take a reading.
Anyway,
Chris was listening at the window, she'll tell you.
going forward, if you could, get your engineer to do whatever they need to do.
Right,
Change your meter out.
absolutely.
Meet with Wendy tomorrow if you can. She wants to know, please update your census. She needs
Okay.
to know how many people you had.
Right. My oldest son is off the census. My daughters, two daughters, I
No,
believe.
the
is
most
still-
current
most
census is
complete-
2020, and it still lists all your kids.
It does? I thought the one I had
Lists all
Joey
your
off.
kids. She
He's
gave
been-
us a copy.
He's been gone since college. He's 34 years old.
Well, that's what they use when they come up with
But I
estimates.
thought when they went to your house, one of the reasons why they couldn't get in was,
21-year-old, the only one at home, Joey.
so that was Joey that was sleeping downstairs?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
right now, it's listing all of your
Yeah,
kids.
Joey's the only one home.
So you need to update your census,
Okay.
because that's what they do for an estimate too. They're saying, okay, 2020 estimate showed 3 people downstairs in the apartment, and it showed all your kids still living at home. So
Right.
that, what
And
are
I
they
went
doing?
over to the people that do the census to get the tenants removed with the execution of eviction. It was executed. They said they can't do it. They have to wait for 4 years of them not voting. I go, well, that's a legal document showing they were physically removed from the house. Get them off the census, just for that reason. I want to show that they don't live there, just like you're saying. But they're telling me they can't do it. The people have to write in that they don't live there. Listen, I had them dragged out. You think they're going to write that they don't live there anymore? So I got to wait 4 more years?
So moving forward, meet with Wendy. She said that, tell her how many people were living in your home from August 23rd to 2/24. She'll adjust accordingly, and that should go back a prior bill and talk to you about that as well.
Okay.
So those are the steps that I would suggest that you do as soon as
Okay.
possible.
But can we
Because, as I
try
said,
to do something about, please try to do something, not just for me, for all the residents, so
Well,
this doesn't happen to somebody
we
else?
do have, like I said, we have a water meter program that we're starting, we're starting. And this is special technology which will be able to monitor people's usage alerts. They can go online and see how much water they're using at every time.
Right. But
And
why
that should help.
wouldn't you want to do that? I just want to know, why would, I know you're covering yourself legally. This isn't about legal, it's about what's right. Put in a notice. I'll pay for the notices and buy cases of them to put in people's envelope if that's what it takes.
I just want to be clear about this. We don't see the envelopes. We submit the numbers to a billing company. The billing company submits the invoices and mails them, and they come to you from the billing company.
And what would it cost to have them change that procedure to add a notice if it's an estimate?
That's not a thing. They service communities. They have their own procedures that you have to abide. It's like telling ADP, if they're your payroll company, that you want them to put some special notice.
That would be
in the
like
invoice.
me, I'm an electrician, a high voltage electrician, it'd be like an electrician, an inspector coming in, and I went above and beyond, and say, you can't do that, you went above and beyond, bring it down. Come on, we can go above and beyond for our residents of Saugus?
Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too, thank you. All right, so we're at the point now, there's no one else in the audience for citizens' comments. Members' motions. Selectman Riley?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just from listening to the update from Joe Vecchione about Cliftondale, the MBTA, I know we haven't really talked about our goals and getting updates from the manager. Like, it's been a weird year. So if we could get back into having our meetings with the town manager and getting updates on the school buildings, master plan, all these things that people are asking about, but we haven't had any information on them.
Yeah, we've been talking to the town
Yeah,
manager. He's been so busy with budgets, but please, Mr. Town Manager.
No, unfortunately, we spent a year with ash and marijuana, and now we're going to spend a lot of time with litigation, but I'm hoping that we can get back to the priorities that we set, and I'd be happy to, sort of get those. But I think we have, like, I think we talked about this, halfway last year. We have to stick with the things that we're doing and keep those things updated. Otherwise, the things, become more challenging to get done. If we go in all different directions, we don't get anything done. But I think that that's a great idea, and, I look forward to trying to get on track. I know we're going to spend a lot of time in litigation. We have major litigation going on, and I'm inundated with that now, with trying to respond to that stuff, and, that's going to take up a lot of bandwidth. So, but I think hopefully we can get back on the things that we have currently going.
Thank you. Anything else,
Okay.
Selectman Riley?
No, that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Selectman Sereno?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the Saugus High School boy and girl athletes who have won a Northeastern Conference Championship since the middle new high school's been opened up in 2021. A banner ceremony was held tonight. I didn't have the opportunity to go at the middle high school gym. And the recognized teams who have earned a banner are the 2021 softball team, volleyball team, 2022 boys soccer, 2023 girls basketball, boys basketball, softball team, and the girls soccer. Second, I want to thank the DPW, police, and fire departments for their services during the flooding that occurred, especially in East Saugus. And I'd like to give a shout out to the advocate and Charlie Zapolsky, who took all these pictures that are in your paper about the flooding in town. It's opened my eyes up. I didn't have an opportunity to get out of East Saugus to go view these places. And finally, I'd just like to welcome in the new year 2024. Selectman Panetta and I had the opportunity to attend the Senior Center's New Year's celebration on January 9th. We had a lot of fun, so I want to wish everybody a healthy and happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Selectman Sereno. Selectman Ciccolini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to just make it short and sweet. I want to commend the DPW for great work that they've been doing with this crazy weather we've had between snowstorms, ice storms, and everything else, doing the pre-treating and things of that nature. I think they've done a great job. And also, to the town manager, following up on a bunch of loose ends that have come in. Even sent them one earlier today. Always responsive, the group over there, so I really appreciate that. And echo Selectman Serino with a Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everyone's enjoying the holidays. Seen some positive comments on Facebook about the Christmas lights or the holiday lights, asking if we can leave them on. Before, they used to complain that we used to waste electricity because the lights were on beyond January. Now they're saying it would be great if we can leave them on until the summer. Let's leave the red and white lights on in summer. So at least it's got a positive spin to it now. They want to leave the lights, but they do look nice. It's nice having them up, and a great job. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Selectman
It's interesting, I
Chicalini.
just received a text tonight about the lights. While we're having the meeting.
Why they're still on?
They love them. No, that
they love 'em.
They love
Okay,
them.
good.
That they're on, you know.
I just, before you, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I didn't even realize this was our first meeting of the new year. So I wish everyone a happy, healthy new year, because it didn't even dawn on me that it's the 23rd and we're just meeting, so.
You know what it is, we've been doing so many things in between.
In between, yeah, okay.
So-
All right, I just want,
Well,
thank you.
Selectman Riley. And I like the lights, too. I first want to send my sincere condolences to the Devlin family. They lost their son, Eric. Eric was on the Conservation Commission. His mom, Ann, was a town meeting member in Precinct 1 for many, many years, co-president of SAVE. Our heartfelt condolences go out to Ann and her family. Our next meeting is February 6th, and then after that, we have a meeting on February 27th, which is our budget meeting. It's going to begin at 6 o'clock in the conference room, like we typically do. I also want to thank our police, fire, DPW, and the town manager's office for all the work they did with the flood, and it was scary. I mean, we talked about it this evening, but you know what? If we could do something to help alleviate that issue moving forward, I'm all for it. I want to say happy birthday to Scott Crabtree, whose birthday was a couple of days ago, and happy birthday to Corrine Riley, whose birthday is in a few days. So happy birthday to both of you.
Thank you.
Guys, don't look a
I
day
am
over 40.
39, I know.
And with that
Again.
said, I want to wish everybody a happy and healthy new year, and looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded by the chair. All those in favor of Selectman Chicalini's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Thank you very much, and good night to everyone.
Thank you, good night.